All right, welcome back. We are ACI Course 12, second half of Class 6. It's May 12th, 2026, where I am. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do, please. Bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning about emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And with that intention, we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, 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 teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the pure world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice with what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with the blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamnirya Tayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. Okay. So we are studying Master Shantideva's chapter on the perfection of wisdom, which we understand usually means the direct perception of emptiness. So we would expect the chapter to be about how to bring that about, but it's not about that. It's more about what it is about coming to know the truth of emptiness and dependent origination, and how that becomes, through that, we can create ourselves into Buddhas for the benefit of all sentient beings. So we're learning wisdom for purposes that go beyond just becoming Arya. And then for that end, Master Shantideva goes into like what things are empty. And of course, we know the punchline, everything. But we want to really pin down what we mean by something's empty. Empty of what? And we understand that when we say a thing has an empty nature, it means it's empty of something, not just blank, not just a black hole. But there must be something there that's not actually there when we go looking for it. So we want to remind ourselves to, when we think or say emptiness, we're talking about empty of that identity, quality, whatever it is we're thinking, is in the object of our experience, is in the experience itself, and is in the me who's having the experience, that we are misunderstanding as having something about the me, the that, and the experience between as having their identities, their qualities in them, from them, right? We understand. But each time we say or think emptiness, is it really triggering this understanding? Oh, it's empty of this belief that I was born with and have been born with for eons, to believe that everything about me and my experience of my world has a has a me and me and a them and them. And as long as I keep thinking that, believing that, then if that experience of them is pleasant or unpleasant, it's coming from them. Even as we say, no, I know not everybody experiences them as unpleasant. I do, because of something unique to me. Even as I say that, I know my mind is saying, yeah, but it's still coming from them. Just because somebody else doesn't find that unpleasant, it's still in them. So Master Shantideva knows that we're so ingrained with that belief in self-existence that it colors everything else we're ever taught about where things come from and how to behave and right, how to make things happen in our world. So we had finished talking about the learned belief in self-existence and the innate belief in self-existence. And that's when he then shifted over into, well, what do we do with that if it's so innate in us we can't even know we're having the belief? How are we ever going to get ahead of it? So, we study, we practice, we serve, we gather goodness, we purify. So he goes on to help us understand the emptiness of objects, as Geshe Michael always does so skillfully, looking at the pen as a whole and showing ourselves that we could unsee it as a pen. We can see it as just colors and shapes. Put on pen, take off pen, put on pen, take off pen, which shows us by our own experience that the pen's identity can't be in it, even as we say, well, I'm taking its identity out of it so I can just see colors and shapes. We can still be misunderstanding. But just the fact that we can do that, or even pretend to do that, tells us that there's something about our experience of the pen that makes the object what it is for us. And we know if a dog does the same thing, they come up with a different idea of this object, and that showed us that our idea of the object pen is some kind of mind bubble whole thing that lays over the information. And then he skillfully says, so it would be useful for us to then look at, well, what about the colors and shapes that are getting the overlay? Aren't those already there? Aren't they there from their own side, in them in some way? Because otherwise I could just think pen and there would be one, or I could think bicycle and there would be one, and we can't do that. Something about this insists that it's a pen, doesn't it? And so we go looking for what is it that we believe is inside the physical object that comes to us as we experience it, that influences us to influence it to see it as a pen. And he says, if there is such a thing as an object that has its own identity, either complete or just enough to suggest its penness to us, well, then there has to be something in it that we should be able to find and experience. Because if it's in it, from it, it has to always be there. And if we go looking for that and we can't find it anywhere, and we do that in a valid way through which we can say, I've had the direct experience that there's no such essence of the object making it a pen, then we can say, if there's no single most subtle part of the object that holds the object's identity and qualities in it, well, then you can't put 2 or 3 or 4 or bazillion of those together to make the pen. There has to be at least one in order to have the pen. And we learn that, well, to show ourselves the most basic building block of our material world, including the pen, we would want to find what we believe to be the most basic building block, the unfurther separable piece or particle that when you put them all together comes up into the object that we found. So we went looking for that. And we decided, well, it would be the smallest particle. And then if the smallest particle was really the smallest particle, you can't put 2 of them together because they would overlap and you'd just have one again. And so they have to have a side so the 2 can touch but not merge, so that you can put 3, so you can put bazillion, so that you can come up with a pen. If there is such a thing as a self-existent smallest building block, we should be able to find it. But if the smallest one has to have a side in order to touch the other smallest one, then that means you can split it. And then that one's going to have a side also, you can split it. And the conclusion isn't, oh, so there's no such thing as a building block. It's, oh my gosh, there isn't a building block that exists there first in and of itself, that then has another one and another and another. If I can't find one, I can't find multiple ones. Do you remember the one or many argument for emptiness of one or many? And that means the whole pen can't be made up of these little tiny particles the way I believe they were. Does it mean there's no pen at all? No. Our conclusion, of course, is, well, there's something else going on then, that even the tiniest particle is a concept by my mind laid on more subtle parts. And that means the next level up is my concept laid on parts, and the next level up, and the next level up, and the next level up until I get here. And there we would say is the full-on level up, because here's the pen that I can write with. But the same thing is still happening. My concept being laid onto information doesn't stop once the object's here. It continues as long as I'm still experiencing the object, because it has to. It's still information receiving a label, and then another label, and then another label. So we've done it with pens. We've dabbled with doing it with other people, the yelling boss. And then last class, we also said when we are looking for self-existent things, probably the most important self-existent thing we would want to get good at looking for is our self-existent me. Partly because that's the one we experience first when we see emptiness directly, they say. And partly because that's the factor that so swiftly imposes itself on our reaction choices, our responses to our experiences, is that me in me, from me, that wants happiness and doesn't want suffering. When we can chip away at the strength of that belief, that me, oh, I'm getting myself in trouble, that me is a real thing, the less real we become, the less reactive we become. But when I say less real, don't misunderstand. I would not have said that to us when we were studying Course 6. But now we should be ready to hear not real and understand that actually makes us more real than the one we were relating to, which is in it, right? In me, from me. Because that me actually has never been there. I just have always thought it has been, and I've protected it and taken care of it and pampered it for eons. And it's like nuts when we are clearly understand that to have no self-existent me does not mean that's no me at all. But there is a me, a very real me, that's happening moment by moment as a ripening result of how my seeds overlay are ripening. So we're trying to find that self-existent me. If there is a me that exists independently of any other factor in some way, then it needs to either be in this thing, the physical body, or in this thing, the mind. So we would want to go looking for that me in the body or in the mind. And then we could say, well, let's pin it down further. Let's go looking in each of the 5 heaps. We're going to go there later. So we talked about the body and trying to find that self-existent particle in the body. Because if we can find it, we should be able to find the self-existent me as well. And we didn't show ourselves the not self-existent me so much. We showed ourselves the not self-existent physical atom, which doesn't mean there's no atoms, right? No self-existent atoms. So there can be atoms, the ones we project. So this part of class was, okay, what about my mind? Can I find that self-existent me in my mind? If it's not in my body, which we haven't quite shown ourselves yet, but if there's no not self-existent body, how can there be a not, if there's no self-existent body, how can there be a self-existent me in a not self-existent thing? So we go looking at the mind. For our self-existent me, we would need to have a self-existent mind to be in, I guess. So we go looking for the thing that we think is our mind to see if we can find it. And it feels so crazy because it's like, I know right where my mind is. Like I'm right in smack in the middle of it right now. Like I'm hearing everything I say. I'm keenly aware of what's going on. That's my mind happening. So as we look for the self-existent body, we said we want to find the smallest building block of that body and look at that to just cut to the chase. So same thing with mind, right? The mind has many, many functions going on. We could look at each one, 74,000 mental afflictions, but that would take a long time. Or we can find the one that must be the building block of our mind and look for its self-existence. And so we would ask what is the smallest mind particle, right? The equivalent of an atom for our physical world, what would be the equivalent for mind? And they say an instant of awareness. So let me get our Tibetan here. There we go. We had gotten down to here. Shepe ke chikme gyun. Shepe ke chikme gyun. Gyun means mind stream. Ke chikme means instances. Geshe always goes this. Ke chikme is bing, 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 bing. Shepe means our awareness, of our awareness, the instances of our awareness. Mind stream is what this is saying. So Master Shantideva says our mind stream is a collection of instances of awareness, which is called a stream. So remember when we used that analogy of the stream, you're sitting by the stream, you're looking at the stream. It's flowing. There's one stream there. But if you try to pinpoint, if you could freeze frame the stream in any given moment, each freeze frame, the stream is actually very different because the water has flown by with each instant. And so when we ask, well, which one's the real stream then? The this moment, the that moment, the that moment, the that moment. How can there be a whole stream as a stream if at any given moment it only lasts an instant and then it's different? And it is slippery and confusing. It's like, yeah, it's never the same stream 2 moments in a row, but it doesn't turn into a cornfield, or it doesn't go from flowing water to iceberg in that instant. It's an instant of water flow. So it is one whole thing, but never the same 2 moments in a row. It's like conceptualizing mind says, I understand that, and I can still enjoy the stream. I can bathe in the stream. I can do all kinds of things. With a stream, I know it's a stream, and I know it's never the same 2 moments in a row. So what? That's what we're looking for, right? So our own mind, we have this belief that we have a mind which is a thing, which is made up of parts. which is what experiences those different things that minds experience. We can't help it. But when we say my mind, to have some conception that it's a thing. Is it a thing I can put in a jar and look at? No. But is it a thing that's constantly there? Do you have awareness right now? Yes, that's your mind. So if it's a thing, it should have parts. And if it's a thing that has its thingness in it, then we should be able to find the basic building block part that gives it its thingness. So what would that basic building block be? A moment of awareness that's there all by itself, technically unaware of anything yet, waiting to be aware of something that if it were true that it could be there all by itself, unaware of anything, what what's going to influence it to go from a moment of awareness unaware of anything to being a moment of awareness that's aware of something? Doesn't that have to be influenced by something? In which case, that instant of awareness that's not actually aware yet, that becomes an instant of awareness that's now aware of something, can't have its identity, awareness aware of something, in it from it, because it depended on the something to make it aware of it. But wait, the something didn't make it aware of it, but it wasn't aware of the something the moment before, and now it's aware of something. Something had to change. A mind that is it, in it, from it, can it change itself? Not without some kind of influence. And if a thing exists in a way that's influenced by something else, then it is not self-existent. It's dependent. Do we have a self-existent mind? No. Do we have a dependently existent mind? Absolutely. Does that mean we have no mind at all? No. Does it mean we don't have a mind that we thought we had? Yes. How can we identify that? We have to keep looking for the one we think we have, the one that is aware of stuff independent of the stuff it's experiencing, and see if that's really possible. So we start from this understanding, better understanding of our minds, our mind as also a concept applied to the collections of moments of awareness that have made up my life. And then that collection of moments of awareness can be called the stream, the gyun, the stream of my mind. And this collection of all the present moments of this stream of mind throughout the moments called this life is what is conceived of as me by my mind. So this mind going along that conceives of itself as the mind going along, also conceives of the me of that mind going along through the string of that life. All the conceptualizing that's taking place. Not by having to think it out clearly, right? It's happening, coming out of the seeds. So we don't even know that it's happening. So when they say, my mind is this conceptualization on the collection of moments of awareness, that's the same as saying the pen is a collection of the information of the parts that gets the conceptualization pen. We're describing the same process, but using different parts, and so coming to a different conceptualization. Lump the moments of awareness all together like we lump color and shape together to come up with pen. Lump moments of awareness between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. And we have what's called my mind from 6 to 8 p.m. And there's no mind other than that. And that mind that is the conceptualization of the lumped moments of awareness is real. Not self-existently real. That one's impossible. So, does that mind that is conceptualized onto the moments of consciousness, forced to do so by our ripening mental seeds, does that exist independently? No. Does it exist in dependence upon something else? Yes, it does. So it's slippery in the English language. I don't know about other languages, that there's this word independent, which means unaffected by anything else. And there's the phrase independence upon, which is the opposite. It means it does not exist independent of any other factor. It exists depending on some other factor. And that implies then that it does not exist at all without that other factor. And then our mind goes, oh, so there's something in the other factor that makes my mind exist. And it's like, no, right? The other factor also, when we go looking for it, it is a conceptualization on parts that gets the label. And part of that label is its ability to be the thing that my mind is aware of. So at each level that we try to explore, it's useful to see where am I again applying my belief? Oh, then that has to be there in order to do this, and check that out. Is that possible? So we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So let's look at any single instant of awareness. Because if we can find that there is a single moment of awareness that is in it from it, that would mean there could be a moment of awareness there, independent of any other factor, in which case you could put two of those together and then three and then four and then five and come up with a mind that's always there, independent of any other factor. So if there could be a moment of awareness independent of any other factor, one of the reasonings is to say, if where or when would that moment of awareness be happening if there is such a one that exists independent of any other factor? It would have to be happening now, wouldn't it? Because in order for us to be aware of it, to even talk about it, it has to be now. Because a moment before is already gone, and the moment after hasn't come yet. The only thing we can experience is the now moment. And if we are holding that now moment exists independently, then we should be able to find it, which is peculiar because we would have to be able to find it without being aware of it. And it's like, that's enough for me to stop right there, but that's not where they go. They say, if you have a moment of awareness now, does that now have a beginning of the now, a middle of the now, and an end of the now? It's like this moment now, next moment it's gone. Now we're in this now. Or now we're in this now. If it can go from now to later, does that happen instantaneously? Or does it happen over time? And they say, when we investigate the now, by the time you look for the now, you're in a different now than you were before. So that means each now has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if there's a beginning and middle of an end for the now, then it's not the smallest building block, because you could theoretically slow your awareness down further and get into the middle of the now moment. But what would you find? There's a beginning, a middle, and an end to that awareness as well. So just as we went looking for the smallest physical atom and found, oh, all I find is a conceptualization on more subtle information. When we're looking for the moment of mind, moment of awareness as the smallest building block of mind, we find the same thing. There's only a smaller moment of awareness that gets the label moment of awareness. We can't actually ever find a moment of awareness that presents itself. When we are convinced of that, we then see that putting moments of awareness together to come to call them my mind stream is also conceptualization, laying onto subtle parts to come to an experience or come to a conclusion. So even our mind is empty of those self-existent moments of awareness, because there's no such thing as a self-existent moment of awareness. Are there dependently originated moments of awareness? Absolutely. Always have and always will be. What are those moments of awareness dependent upon? We know the punchline. They are karma, movement of the mind and what it motivates. So we're forced by karma to take parts of consciousness, meaning these moments, and conceive of them as moments of consciousness and take collections of moments of consciousness and project onto them me, my mind. So my mind is a concept projected onto parts because I can keep looking down at deeper and deeper levels of parts, and I will never find anything that exists independently of anything else. At each level, what makes me put the projection that I do onto the more subtle data? My karmic seeds ripening. So there's no such thing as a self-existent moment of my mind. Every moment there is a karmically dependent moment of my mind. That's what karma is, movement of the mind. So just as there's no self-existent atom making cement hard, there's no self-existent moment of mind making me and my mind. Right? My own me and my mind, just heard that, and also there's no mind at all. No, there is hard cement, but it's hard cement because my karma forces the projection hard cement. My mind is actually, my karma is actually forcing the projection mind aware hard cement happening. Me mind hard cement happening, ripening. Like language just gets so messed up when we try to actually speak consistent with what's going on. You know, in English, we have I go to the store, subject, verb, object. And that very structure of language reinforces the belief that I'm here first, and then there's a store over there, and I can do something that will get me to the store. Separate objects going on. In the Tibetan syntax, I don't know other languages, it's like I store, go. It decreases this separation between me and the object. Still, our minds take it wrong. But I find it helpful to play with that syntax because it's so different. It knocks my mind off guard. And it's like, I store. Does that mean I am the store? Is the store part of me? I can actually start thinking of it in these different ways that, when we start getting a glimpse of what our me actually includes, that syntax of subject, object, verb, or noun. What's the other thing? Two nouns and then your verb. It's getting close to more accurate. So there's this fun phrase. Tanye takbe takdun, selwait sene manye. Please say it because it's a fun tongue twister in Tibetan. Tanye takbe takdun, selwait sene manye. I remember when I learned this course from Winston, he had us doing this as a mantra, like we were there at Diamond Mountain, and I think it was course 18. Is that right? Whatever course it was. And so it was like Tanya, Tukpe, Tukton, Sewing, Yummy, Manya, right? But it's fun. What it means, Tanya means the term. the identity and function of the object. Tanye. Tak pe takdun means to impose raw data, imposing onto the raw data this object's function and name. Selway se ne manye. Selway means when we go looking for it. Sorry, selway se ne means at the time we go looking for it. Manye, we won't find it. So what this phrase is saying is when we go looking for the thing that gets the label, we won't find anything except something new. So Geshe rephrased it. He said, when we go looking for the thing that we think of in a certain way, we'll never find anything except something new that we are thinking of in a certain way. And by certain way, he means as in with their identities in them from them. When you go looking for the thing that gets the label, because we believe that it says what label to give it, we'll just find that raw data receiving our chocolate sauce overlay. And when we say, whoa, what about the raw data? It had to be there first. Well, look at the raw data now and see what raw data is there first that makes you see the raw data as a pen. And then we look at more subtle raw data and find, oh, there's more subtle stuff that I'm laying on color and shape. Well, what about that more subtle stuff? We'll only find that there's more subtle stuff that's getting the subtle stuff label. And if we keep doing that, we never reach a place where we go, oh, see, there's nothing. Because there's no such thing as nothing. What we reach is a place where we go, this is ridiculous. This is never going to stop. That's what we're looking for. That's the wisdom of the no self-existent meaning. It's, oh my gosh, there's only this process happening always. Information label, information label, information label. Not information first, then label. But information label happening. Information label happening. Information label happening. Like, and then where's the me? It has to be a part of that. Right? We haven't actually pinned down looking for the me yet. We had to establish, should we be able to find a me in the physical body? If so, there must be some self-existentness to the physical body that me can be in. Which right there, it's like, that's silly. Mind. There must be some self-existent piece of mind that my self-existent me will be in. Can't find that either. Right? And so, of course, we'll go looking. Where else is the me? Is the me out there in outer space somewhere? Don't have to look for that one. Is the me in something else? Is it in the tree? Don't have to look for that one either. Like, where's the me? And that's where we go looking into the five heaps and the other things until we've come to the conclusion, this is silly. There's no self-existent me independent of the experience that I'm having right now. We don't ever come to the conclusion, oh, there's no me at all. The conclusion is, oh, there's no self-existent me. And there never has been. How silly I've been for eons. Okay, So when we go looking for the thing that gets the label, we will only find something more subtle getting a label, is the answer to that question when you get there. So then, where does the raw data come from? If it's not in it from it, we just said that. But it has to be there in order to receive the label. What does it depend upon? Right? I already said something more subtle, but our mind is not satisfied with that. It's like, come on, there has to be a first moment of raw data. All right, understand it's not self-existent. It has to come from somewhere, right? Because it's not non-existent. Their answer is all the objects in our world can be established as existing through the reasonable perception that thinks of them in certain ways without analyzing their ultimate nature. It seems like a cop-out to me. They're describing lower school's conclusion that things exist by way of valid perceptions. If we experience an object and our mind is not high, right, hallucinating, whatever, having a valid perception, that establishes the thing that we experienced as the thing. So just to have a valid perception of this object, the pen, establishes there's a pen here. It's not contradictory with saying it's all my overlay. Sort of the ramification of it being our overlay. But the thing is, as we hear, or as I experience myself saying, my valid perception establishes this pen as existing, I automatically believe that the pen is existing self-existently, not independent of no other factor. I know it depends on plastic and ink and all kinds of things. But I'm not automatically going, oh, established by valid perception, it's just my karma making the pen there. Because even as I hear myself say that, it sounds like my karma is just making something up out of thin air. And if I could do that with a pen, why can't I do it with your Buddhahood, right? Ta-da! Buddha, you guys. You feel like Buddhas? Don't fib. Buddhas can't fib. Right? Are you omniscient? Say yes. Don't lie, but say yes. I'm being silly on purpose. Where does the raw data come from? Oh, all the objects in our world can be established as existing through that reasonable perception that thinks of them in certain ways without analyzing their ultimate nature. That phrase is this one. Matak machepar tanyepe tsemedrup. Tsemedrup means valid perception establishes existence. Matak machepar, we had it last week, I think, which is if you just leave it alone, don't analyze, just experience something, that experience of it with a valid perception makes it there, makes it be happening. Did it make it happen? That's a little slippery. Karma ripening made it happen. But if we don't go analyzing, yes, valid perception establishes things' existence. Whether you're looking at pen or colors and shapes or left side, right side, at any level, if you leave it right there, that's validly perceived happening, present. However, if we continue to experience things, minute of peace, if we continue to simply experience things matak machepar, unanalyzed, we will continue to react to things in the habitual way. And that continues to replant our seeds of misunderstanding that perpetuate our suffering, me in a suffering world. And we are claiming to be in training to stop that. So we want to include in our training this awareness of when we are matak macheparing, letting things go unexamined, which for me is like 99% of my time. And when we are actually trying to recognize, oh, looks like it's in it from it, but I know it's my seeds ripening. Trying to apply our growing wisdom because of our heartfelt wish to stop perpetuating this crazy, stupid cycle where we think the things that will bring us happiness, we think we choose the wrong things in the effort to get happy. We choose things mistakenly, unknowingly, mistakenly. All right, let's take our break. Are we back? Hello. Mhm. Here's one. Okay, there's two. All right, good enough. So Geshe said even Buddhas experience things matakma chepar, unexamined in unexamined way, as being in a world of things that exist out there or seem to exist out there. And they use them to help others, to benefit others. And every experience gives them great bliss, or they are experiencing great bliss with every experience. Mm. But the way they got there was by way of having examined deeply. Thus, this process of looking for the thing that gets the label, only to find that there will never be a thing that is there first that gets the label. And then finding that, oh, that thing I'm looking for, I'm never going to find, because all I find is more subtle stuff getting a different label. That's coming to find the emptiness of the object, the no self-existent object, because it's coming to show ourselves that there's only the conceptual overlay object there, and that's all any object has ever been. Mm. And Geshe says, and what we then come up with is how our own behavior in the present creates the circumstances of our future. And it's like, that still feels like a big leap to me, to go down in levels. Oh, I'll never find anything but my own mind putting on the label. And then to come back and land in, oh my gosh, my behavior now creates my future. Like, is that automatic? Am I the only dunce in the room? Does that seem automatic? So I try to explain it to myself so that I can get through that leap. Because we would have to ask, well, like, why is it? Why is it? Where does that overlay, that particular overlay identity, what is that? And that's where I find, okay, whatever it is, it's a current moment result of something. A current experience has to be a current moment result. And that current moment result of a conceptual thing would have to be some previously experienced conceptual thing. I think I could say that. And that a previously experienced conceptual thing bringing about a currently experienced conceptual thing is what is meant by the ultimate cause and effect. The, the imprint made by our conceptual experience of something leaves an imprint on that mind that becomes a current ripening conceptual experience, conceptualization experience, that it itself imprints the mind, that becomes a future imprint experience, exprint experience. And that process is so swift and constant that it's so difficult to actually experience directly. But when we ask, what's the giving the label? And they say, well, it's your karmic seed ripening. And we can buy it, or we can say, no, how do you come to that conclusion? And keep digging down in to find what's going on. So Geshe says what we come up with is the ramification of the realization that any experience that I can have can only be a conceptualization overlay onto more subtle, conceptually overlaid experience, and that conceptual overlay is what we mean by karma ripening, and that the experience we have from it is what we mean by collecting karma. And that's how existence exists. And that means that any other worldview that we were ever taught about where things come from is mistaken if it doesn't include coming from the karma of the beings, not coming from, but being the karma of the beings who are experiencing it. So to say, oh, capitalism is the best economy, or socialism, or, rubber bands make the best cars, whatever belief system we have, if we're still holding the belief that there's something in them from them that makes them what they are, we are perpetuating a misbelief that perpetuates our acting in a way that we believe will work to bring us the result we were doing it for. And when we go looking to see, well, what is it about grabbing the doorknob and turning and pulling that actually opens the door? At what point does that actually happen? We use the same process to go looking for the moment the door opens. And we can't actually ever pin down what's going on as we're even doing it. And we recognize that every moment of that experience is ripening results of some conceptualization put in there before. And our conclusion we'll get to, they say, recognizing that if it's a pleasant experience for the door to open, it can only be a result of some way I've been helpful to another. Tried to see myself be helpful to another. And that's the cause for the result, seeing my hand toward the doorknob pull and the door open. So when we reach this clear conclusion of no self-existent identity at any one of these levels, our next conclusion is, oh my gosh, my perception of things at each level is my karmic seeds ripening. And that means if it's pleasant or unpleasant, that's included And that means if I try to be pleasant, then futures will be more pleasant. And if I don't, futures will be ordinary, which ordinary includes suffering. So then we could conclude, if this is all true, and there is no basic building block to either my outer world, my physical body, or to moments of my mind, that means there's no basic building blocks to my moments of experience. And that means there's nothing I cannot change by way of my behavior. And that means if I could do the behavior that would make the imprint on my mind, that when that imprint comes out as its result would be a pure world for everybody, I could do it. If I could just make those seeds, I can make that result. And that's the promise of highest worldview, is that it shows us eventually directly that we are the creators of our world. And just knowing that isn't enough to instantly make the seeds that will be a pure world, but we're on our way to doing so because of damaging just the learned belief in self-existence, let alone finally removing the innate belief, which will happen, of course, along our path. So there's this connection between emptiness, knowing emptiness, and our behavior. We just talked about it already. More importantly is like, what's the implication of understanding that it's our current behavior that creates our whole experiences, and nothing exists in any other way than that. The implication of that, says Master Shantideva, he didn't make it up, is compassion. Like the conclusion would be compassion would arise. And it's like, compassion, really? And it really is beautiful when we see the connection. It took me a long time to get it. So apparently Master Shantideva's, Mr. Kachik, this opponent that he's talking to that he isn't really talking to, they say, well, okay, we see what you're saying about no self-existent anything or anybody. And we see what you're saying about the no self-existent person. And then they say, but if there's no person as a whole, and there's no person as parts, like body or mind, then there are no persons towards whom we do karma. And so it doesn't matter whether we have compassion or not. Right? When they hear, look, you show yourself that there's no person, whole pen here would be the person of a pen. And there's no person in me, then there's no person of the yelling boss either, or no person of the hungry homeless person. Then what difference does it make what I do or don't do? It's a wrong conclusion, isn't it? Because Master Shantideva has not said there's no person at all. So it's that common thing that the mind does when we come to this conclusion. Oh, there's no person. because the self-existent me that I thought was there, really there is no such thing. But that doesn't make me disappear. And it reveals the one that is here, changing moment by moment, but never not there. But if we stop at oh, I get it, there's no self-existent me, and there never has been. Ah, and that's true for the other persons that I'm supposed to be learning to be so kind to. They don't really exist. Do the self-existent ones really exist? No, they're right. They don't exist. Does that mean there's no suffering person there? No, there is. The one we're perceiving. The one we're perceiving themselves. I don't know. Right? But if I perceive someone as suffering, then there's a suffering in my world that as an aspiring Bodhisattva, I have pledged to try to do something. And maybe all I can do is a breath of Tonglen or a smile. Or maybe it's somebody I could, actually tangibly worldly try to help. I don't know. So they think they're being really, like they think they got him. There's no person, you can't do karma. Meaning there's no other for me to do karma towards. You know what Master Shantideva says. Come on. It's not that there's no person as a whole at all. The one that's in them, from them, would have to be identical to everybody. That one's not there. The one that is there is the one that you're perceiving the way that you do. And that makes them real. And if you see them with suffering, it makes their suffering real. It's not that their bodies and their minds don't exist. It's that none of them exist independently of my projections forced by my karma. And so they are opportunities to make more karma, technically make merit when we're trying to progress towards Buddhahood. So if I see suffering beings, they are a result of my own past lack of compassion, because I would have acted in some way willing to harm or in gross or subtle ways in order to get what I want or avoid what I don't want. Ordinary human behavior, right? We're not bad people. We're just been mistaken. So to be aware of someone's suffering, I have this opportunity to behave kindly in order to change my karma so that in the future I see less suffering. And then again, less suffering still, and less and less and less until the only karma I have left is to see happy people all around me. If those beings, suffering or happy, were in them, from them, and I'm in me, from me, then neither of us could ever reach freedom from the suffering we are experiencing by our self-existent me. Because we are all empty of self-nature, we can and will all reach that state called total enlightenment simply by way of the behavior that we do out of our growing compassion. Compassion meaning concern for the suffering of others. So there are 3 levels of compassion. We've learned these in earlier classes. I don't think we got the Tibetan for them. The first not first in order, but the first one he talks about is the Chula Mikpe Ningje. Ningje is the word for compassion. We know that, I think. Chula Mikpe Ningje means the compassion that focuses upon things, not meaning compassion for pens and bicycles, but meaning this this compassion in a mind that focuses on a person's parts, understanding that there's no self-existent person running those parts. So we're talking about the one who's having compassion towards another. And that being who's having the compassion towards the other is already at the level of understanding karma and emptiness that recognizes that that person who's suffering, there's no self-existent person inside them that's choosing suffering or choosing not suffering. There's no soul running the show. This person having compassion understands karma and emptiness, but only to that extent. And so their conclusion is that person, they misunderstand where their suffering is coming from. And so they try to do things to stop it that can't actually stop it. And if they understood karma and emptiness better, they'd be able to choose different behaviors so that they could make different karma and they could stop their suffering. Right? It's a good level of compassion to get to understand the karmic consequences and correlations that create someone's suffering. And then that compassion would be motivated not just to help them in a worldly way, but also help that other person come to recognize they could react to their world differently, and that would change their mind seeds, and that would change their experience in the future, right? We could teach them Dharma and expect them to change themselves to change their suffering. Will it change their suffering? Yeah, it will. Will it necessarily change the suffering I see in them? Well, probably by helping them in that way, my seeds will change too. But wait, have I frozen? Okay, I'm just putting you all to sleep. the sorry, lost my train of thought. I really thought I was frozen. We would still be thinking that their suffering was coming from their own seeds. We would be thinking the suffering we saw in them is the same suffering they actually experienced. When in fact that cannot be, correct? They may very well be suffering. And it might be less or worse than how we perceive them suffering. But the way we perceive them suffering, that's my karma ripening. So at this level of compassion, we're recognizing, yes, everything's karma ripening, and your suffering is your suffering from your karma ripening. And I will do my best to help you worldly ways and to teach you about karma. Then there's Mikmeki Ningje. Mikmeki Ningje. Remember the Mikme Sewe Terchen Chenrezig in our Thousand Angels mantra. The Chenrezig is the one who doesn't see, right? The love with nothing to see is how that was translated, not meaning everything's invisible to them, but meaning seeing no self-existence to the one they love, the feeling of love, the them loving. And so therefore, that mind that Mikme Ki Ningje's compassion or love for Chenrezig, is that compassion grows out of this awareness that whatever the other person is experiencing, suffering or not, is their karma. And the way I'm experiencing them is my karma. And so if I'm seeing any suffering within them, that suffering is a result of my own past selfishness, and they are an opportunity for me to act in a way to change my seeds so that I can no longer see them suffering in that way. And in one way, it sounds more selfish than the previous compassion, because the previous compassion says, go help them learn about karma so they can make different seeds. This one says, change your own seeds, which sounds at first like I can do that without teaching them about karma and emptiness, without helping them with their own karma. But how do I change my karma? I need them. I need to help them, not just in worldly ways, but I want to see myself helping them in deeper and deeper ways so that I can plant the seeds deeper and deeper in my mind in order to transform my seeds and help them transform their seeds, if there's a them at all, which there is, but not independent of my seeds. Get slippery at this level. The Mikmeki Ningje is the compassion of seeing nothing, but it doesn't mean nothing at all. Seeing nothing as self-existent, in it, from it. So this is the compassion that comes out of highest worldview. Both of those compassions try to help the other person come to understand where things really come from, instead of just bringing them dinner. You teach them. Dinner comes from having shared with others. And you try to give somebody an opportunity. Like, I don't know, an example would be if we were to give a homeless person a meal and we were able to safely encourage them to take that meal and share it with somebody else. Like they would plant some seeds of sharing food with someone, even if it didn't occur to them to do it themselves. And then that would help them shift the very position that they see themselves in as not having anything to share. And I remember years ago, I was just getting to the point where I could give things to the homeless folks, and I had a whole bag of tomatoes from my garden, little ones, that you could just pop in your mouth, And I stopped for the guy that I knew he would be there. And I handed these to him, expecting him to rip it open and gobble them up. And his eyes got really big and he goes, the guys at that camp are going to love these. Like his idea was to share them. I didn't have that idea. Man, I felt humiliated. Like good humiliated. And he was just so happy. And I drove off, so I don't know if he opened them up and ate some of them or not, but his immediate reaction was to share. And then now that I'm thinking back about it, it's like, well, how in the world is he a homeless person if his immediate inclination is to share stuff? Something else is going on here. And I don't know, it just shifted my opinion of homeless people, to have that. So we have these two compassions that grow out of our deepening understanding of what it means to understand the no self-existent nature of the person who's suffering. Then the third one, Semchen Samla Mikpe Ningje. This is the Ningje that focuses on, here Mikpe is focusing on. Semchen Samla is merely the living being. So meaning the compassion which focuses on a plain old person conventionally, like the Matakma Chepar. You see the homeless person, unanalyzed. Oh, I'm so sorry you're homeless. It must be miserable. I wish I could help. I know if I give you money, you may or may not use it on food that's good for you. My judgment. I have this opinion that rolls in my mind about why they're homeless and how come how come you don't have a job? How come this? How come that? And at least the growing compassion wants to help, even knowing it'll just be temporary. At least my compassion is such that I'd like to help if I could. Whereas before it was just too uncomfortable to even witness. So compassion is willing to acknowledge someone's distress. And then at this level, our compassion would activate us to hand them a couple of dollars or go get them a lunch or do something worldly way to give them a little bit of relief. It doesn't understand karma and emptiness and where that suffering in fact comes from. And so ultimately, it doesn't do much. And it even allows our own mind continue to think that they're hungry because they don't have money, and they don't have money because they don't have a job, and they don't have a job because they can't read, and they can't read because they dropped out of school, and they dropped out of school because of these horrible circumstances when they were a kid. And we have all these reasons, right? That say to us, well, that's why they're in that boat, as if it makes it better or easier, right? Just perpetuating our own misunderstanding. The root of suffering is this misunderstanding. If they had only worked harder, if they had only had better circumstances, if they had only saved their money before, they wouldn't be in this boat. And then I wouldn't be seeing them suffering in this way. And so it's their fault. My suffering, seeing them suffering, is their fault. Wait a minute, right? That's not compassion at all. That's blame. And it's just going to perpetuate my misperception as long as I let that go on uncut, unregretted. The misperception perpetuates that belief that we need to act to get for ourselves or ourselves and our loved ones what we want, what we need. And that perpetuates or leads to mistaken morality. And mistaken morality perpetuates the need to act to get what we want. Pure reality perpetuates us having, the only way to voice it is to having what we need, having our needs met. But having our needs met means always having what's available to someone else's need. So we can create the perceptions, the projections of always being and having what the other person needs at the moment. And it's like not like you have a big garage full of stuff, but the ripening of circumstances are when somebody needs a rubber band, it's like, oh, I happen to have one in my pocket. When someone needs a ride, oh, I'm going that way. Right? So spontaneous and effortless because our own mind is ripening this constant outflow offering of wisdom that has come about because of our conscientious efforts to help, right? In any way that we can, small, large, worldly wise. So finally, the opponent says, all right, so if we accept all that you've said, it sounds great, but really, come on, is nirvana possible? Is it really possible to reach nirvana, freedom from all mental afflictions and seeds for more? And Master Shantideva says, of course, we can all reach nirvana because the truth stands on two legs and the lie stands on one. Meaning the truth of karma and emptiness, the marriage of karma and emptiness is so powerful that sooner or later it will overcome the misperception of self-existence. Once we get a glimpse of correct view, which we all have a glimpse of it, once that seed is planted and you put the views head to head, old world view will fall over like a dead tree in a windstorm. It can't hold up because the truth is more powerful than the misperception. And then everybody shouts hooray and they have a big party. So Geshe-la says what really provides the raw data of our existence, it's kindness. Because our existence is a positive thing, a pleasant thing. It has to be a result of kindness. All the other suffering involved is results of the selfishness that doesn't understand that our very existence is a result of past kindness. It's so beautiful. So what to do to perpetuate our self and our world is plant seeds of kindness. Yeah, but what if what I do to them they don't think is kind? Well, then be careful with how we react to others who are trying to help us. Okay? Are we reacting with kindness, even if their efforts to help don't help or actually get in the way? Can we still be kind in our response to them? And can we try our best to be kind regardless of how they react? And if they react badly, still be kind, right? At some point, we reach an edge, right? I'm being kind, they're being mean. I'm being kind, they're being mean. I'm being kind, they're being mean. Pam, I can't take it anymore. It doesn't work. Oh, foo, right? When we go back and look at it, if we had the seeds to hear this once, and oh, duh, I'll never be mean again, we would all do it. If we don't have the seeds, we can't do it. So don't beat yourself up if we still make mistakes, which I do, of course. We know what to do about mistakes. So to grow the beginner's compassion, the Semchen Samla Mikpe Ningje, for me, it took effort just to get there. And then the Chula Mikpe Ningje, is the one that grows as we're learning about karma and emptiness. And we go, oh, I see your karma, right? I see the patterns of your karma. Let me tell you about karma so you can fix yourself. Like that works great if the other person has said, can you help me? I see that you seem to know something. Can you help me? Then feel free. But don't go up to somebody who's having trouble, right? And say, I see your karma. You have to change your behavior. How would I respond if somebody did that to me? Okay, thank you very much. Right? Don't call me, I'll call you. So don't do it to somebody else. The highest compassion actually would go looking for suffering for more opportunity to burn off and plant seeds of kindness. Yeah, instead of avoiding, instead of blaming the other person, there's more for me to work on. Thank you. It is something to aspire to, that I still aspire to. All right, I was going to start into class 7, but let's stop here. It's enough. So did we just prove that there's no me at all? Yeah, I hope everybody's going, no, why is she even asking that? We showed there's no self-existent body. So is there no body at all? That's ridiculous. Here it is. And it hurts. Did we show there's no mind at all? No, that's ridiculous. Here it is. No, moment by moment. We didn't really even look for the me yet. But if there's a body that only is coming from karma, and there's a mind that's only coming from karma, and those karmic body and mind are my real body and mind, where do you suppose it's going to go about my me? The self-existent me versus the dependently originated me, right? The me that's laid on data. That's where we're going to go. Looking for the one we think exists independent of the body that can't exist independent of it, and the mind that can't, does it exist in the mind that can't exist independent of it? Do you see where it's going to go? If those two things can't exist independent of the karma ripening, and what is the mind? Movement of the mind and what it makes. And what is the me? The subject side of that mind. Wait, right? If that can't be self-existent and this can't be self-existent, but me can still be self-existent, where the heck is that? What the heck is that? Where can we find it? Where should we go looking at for it? That's what next class comes. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help. We've learned a lot that we will use sooner or later, technically to transform ourselves into a being that transforms them into a being who's ultimately happy forever. And that's a great, great goodness. So please be happy with yourself for the seeds you have planted. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you, help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom may. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, to share it with everyone you love, to share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom. And may it be so. Yay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yes,